All right, guys, if any of you have ever tried sanding alloy wheels by hand, and you're trying to get inside all them little spokes, which is a bit of a nightmare, you need to do a really simple little tool. It's not really expensive to do it. It's just a little bit of aluminium bar, and you buy off Amazon, got these little sanding tools, and they come with little discs on the end. So the important thing is the discs. I don't bother about the sanding tools because they're a nightmare. And if you've got a spoke and you're trying to get in between the gaps in the spoke, you can't get a sanding tool in there anyhow. So this bit, it just gets in the way. It's just pointless. So what I do is I get the little sanding pads, put it over, mark it over like that on the aluminium, and then just get a Sharpie pen and just roughly mark out where the end of that sanded disc comes, like that, like I've just done there. See the little marks in the corners? So you've got the shape of it, and I'm going to file them corners up because otherwise they'll end up scratching the car or scratching the alloy. So I'm going to just mark the other side. There you go. That's all it needs to be, just rough and ready like that. And this little thing is going to become like a multiple grade sanding tool. It's really cool. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sand or file those areas off to round it off. So I've got you need a file, and we do files off, turn these edges round, and then smooth them off. So I'm doing it just slowly round them off like that. They don't take that long to do, but it's going to make a big difference when you come to sanding. Because when you ever want to get into a little tight corner, if you have square corners on the angle bracket, they're going to catch on the alloy, and they're going to put little grooves and cuts and scratches into it. So you need to get rid of them. So I'm just going to pause it. You've seen what I'm doing. Just stick it in a little vise. It's just a little mini vise that clamps onto an ordinary like kitchen worktop. Not that suggests you're filing in your kitchen. You don't want to really get that in your sandwiches. So yeah, just a little, and then just round off the edges so they can't cut your fingers. No sharp bits like that. And I'll probably do the second one here just to show you the second one, and then show you what one end looks like. And then I'll pause the video. But this really, really helps when you want to get a wheel that's really quite corroded, like mine are, where basically every spoke of the wheel has got corrosion. Doing the rim, you can do it with a sanding tool. That's quite easy. And a lot of the videos you see online are all with people that have flat-edged rims on the face of the wheel. But like I've got a Mini Cooper S, and I can't remember what the name of the alloys are that I've got a man, but they're just classic Mini JCW wheels, and no part of it is flat. Everything has got a curve. It's got a slight curve to it, so they're much harder to get the corrosion off than on a flat alloy wheel. So you need to, just to help you massively, to get into all them little spokes. But this is a lifesaver when it comes to doing your wheels. It makes it so much quicker. So that's one side. No sharp edges because you don't want to be catching it. Nice and smooth, no burrs. So there's that edge rounded off. So now when I get my wherever I put it, there it is. It's in the same kind of shape as that. So there's the, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of Velcro on here because these are little Velcro pads. So I'm going to put a little bit of Velcro on here, and I'm going to do the hook side on the hook side on the metal, and obviously this is the furry side, and I'll stick to it, and I can choose different grades for each end. So I could have like a 150 if you want to get the curb rash off, then a 240 to smooth that over, and then you go on to the other side and put a 400, then on the other side put an 800 or 1000 or 1200, whatever you want to do, and you can just peel them off and change them. And when you're doing your wheel, you just literally got it in your hand, and you're getting into all them little spokes that are really difficult, get into all them tight areas. And if you want to get down to a really tight little curve where it's got like a U-shaped curve, you literally you'd get your little Velcro sanding pad, and you kind of put it slightly like that, so it's off. And then when you put it in, it'll bend over, and it kind of bends over like that, and then you can get into all them little areas like that, really tight areas, to make sure you get a nice good sanding. And you could be doing this in between each layer before you paint. So when you need to like denib it and just score it slightly so that the next layer gets a good key of paint on it, you need to get into all those little areas, or there will be the areas that flake later. So it's a simple little thing to do, very simple little tool, just a little bit of waste. It could be a waste piece. This is about 1 inch wide. Yeah, I'd say that was probably about 1 inch. Just you can see it's got holes drilled all over it. Just it doesn't matter, but it's a nice hand size, so you can do it that side and then swivel it round and do it that side, and you just quickly change to the grades really fast like that, and get a really good sand and finish on your wheels. Get rid of all them chips and grazes and cuts and dings and corrosion, get them down to the metal, and then alcohol it all over, and then you're ready for priming. And if you want to get it really smooth, you can use one of your little sanding discs just to smooth it over like that on the end, so you get rid of all them burrs and anything sharp. You don't want anything cutting into your paints on your alloy wheels. So that's the first thing. That's preparing the actual metal, which is nice and rigid to hold, doesn't bend, so it's nice and firm. So when you're sanding corrosion off, you can get a good like leverage on it and really get it off good. Right, so there's the metal. It's rounded off both ends. It's only thin, like, I don't know, 2 millimeter, something like that. So that's done. So next we need to get the Velcro. So what I'm going to do is, first thing is I'm going to get a little pair of scissors. Well, in this case, a big pair of scissors. And I'm going to cut that corner off like that. Kind of like round it a little bit. And then do the other side. And then, so you can see I've rounded it off. And then we're going to cut, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch off. We'll peel that off. And I stick it on the middle. Like that. And then we do the same. And then we peel them all off and stick them all on. So that's 2 on. Seems crazy, this. It just looks mad. You think, like, what the hell is he doing? But you'll see this is really cool. It just makes my life so much easier when you've got spoked wheels like I have, and you haven't got the space to get electronic sanding tools in, like grinders or orbital sanders or drills, whatever you're using. There is no way of getting in there, and trying to do it with your fingers is a nightmare. You know, when you're trying to press on something all the time like that, your fingers in the end just like practically take the skin off. You know, it's not good. So I'm going to do one that's really coarse. On the other side, I'm going to do a 240. So now I've got it like that, look. And then we're going to do a higher grade. Yeah, I've got two 150s here, so that other one must be like an 80 or something. But it has to get the really, really bad corrosion off. An 80, you'd need, you know, it needs to be pretty rough. And mine are pretty rough. Mine are black with corrosion all around every single spoke. It's an absolute nightmare. This one, we've got an 800 look. You know, if you can see that, 800. So I'm going to go 800 on one side. And then I think we need a 400. There we go, 400. So now I'll have all the different gradients on one little tool. And there I have the pads. So we're going from, looks like I think that's a 60. So what I'm going to do is just get a bit of masking tape, just to make it easier when you're doing this. A little bit of masking tape, and I stick it on under each pad. I just stick a little bit of masking tape on like that. And then I do the same on the other side. And then I just get me my Sharpie pen, which is there, and I just go, right, okay, we're starting at this one. So I'm going to write on here 60 to 150, because I'm going to swap this one for them, for both, when I get use it for start off with the rough grade, the 60 or 80, whatever it is, and then go to the 150. So this one's I'm going to change this a lot. The others I'll just leave them on, apart from maybe the 800, which I might switch to a 12 if I need to get that fine thing. So this is 60 to 150, and this one is 240. That looks like a 400, because I'm pretty sure that's the 8. Yeah, so that's the 800, and that's the 400. So written on there, look. So all the grades are on there. And now I have a really cool little spoke sanding tool with all the different, and all I do is flick it over, bam, flick it over, bam, with one hand, one thing, really quick. And you get all them nitty gritty little awful areas can all get done with this. The kit with all the bags and everything is £7 or £7.99 on Amazon, but it comes with loads of discs, all different sizes, right up to 10,000. It goes right from 60 right to 10,000, so it covers everything. So you can, and you get loads, you get 10 of each in each bag, and you get the little tools that are really good for if you want to go put them in a drill or something, and you want to, or people doing it for jewelry or small items that you might want to sand off. You can use like a little orbital tool. I have one of these, which is also really cheap on Amazon. A little tool that has rotating ends on it, and you just got all the different speeds on it. All the different speeds. Brilliant. So you could put that into there, and you've got your sanding tool. So, but to be quite honest, I don't really even use that. I just use this little handheld tool. That is better than that. That, because it's small, tends to move around. It doesn't. You need a bigger disc if you want to do an edge of something, and then you use the outer rim of the disc instead of the little tool, because that just goes everywhere. It's actually easier to just use it in your hand and go like that, because you have a little bit of a handle to hold and pressure, and it just stops your fingers getting messed up. It's pretty easy. It's got a nice bit of pressure in to get in there. You can change all the pads because it's got a little Velcro end on it. So, but that absolutely rocks. That's awesome. It does everything. I've just done 2 wheels. We're using one of these. Only I've refined this one by rounding the edges off. The other ones are slightly sharp, and it was catching. So I stopped, and I've now made another one. So now we're going to go and do another wheel now. See you later, guys. Well, the wheel's filthy from the weather and the rain, so I've got to, first of all, I've got to give it a quick clean over, so I can see what I'm doing. Just get an idea. Get thick of it off. And just get them off so you can see them spokes, because that's where all the corrosion is. It's all on them spokes. Every spoke bit, look of it. It's awful. So as you can see, after giving it a quick wash over, there's corrosion on every spoke, and every surface is rounded. There are no flat surfaces, so using an orbital sander isn't really going to help you much. You can't get into those spaces, they're too small. Look, every spoke, look at it, every spoke. No matter, that side isn't too bad, and that side isn't too bad, but it's still got some marks on there. They don't look too bad, but they're not what we've got on the other side. Look, you can see underneath sides of all of them. Every spoke, and look in the corners and stuff. It's awful. They're a nightmare to get into to sand down. Just takes forever. So what I do is I do the top half, then I move the car back 1/2 metre, then I do the other half like that, and that way you get both sides. So I do everything I can see from this side, and then when I roll the car back 1 metre and the wheel turns, I do everything I can see from that side. Then I check it all, then I know that wheel's sanded. But you can see it's in quite bad shape. Not much in the way of curb brush around these outsides. There's not much around there really. These aren't too bad. These are pretty good. The front ones are quite good. There's a bit there, look, I have to deal with. Not too bad though. This is really good compared to my back wheels. My back wheels were just, every little bit of that rim was absolutely knackered. So yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to get on it now. So this is where the little tool comes in that I've just shown you how to make. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a rough grit, which is the 60 to 150. So I'm going to start off with a 60 to 150 grit, and we just get the thick of that off. This is bad, this is really rough. I mean, I'm using a 60 grit, and it's so corroded. In the time that you've seen me doing that there, this one is sanded. A simple little invention just to make sanding these areas easier, because they have really tricky to get into. And like when you want to get right in there, you can just move a little bit so you've not got no metal, and then that way you can go right up to that edge there, and you can sand all of that corrosion off. When these were painted by a York company that charged me 400 quid, they weren't done very well. Hence why I'm here doing them again. Mind you, it was a long time ago, I'll give them the due, but that paint is flaking off, even in areas that aren't corroded. And what I'm doing now is just wrapping it over like that while I get into that little curve at the bottom, and just gets that little bit of pressure on there, maybe a bit too far there. Then we're going to switch to the 400. Smooth it down a little bit more, so that when you paint it, you don't get scratch lines under the paint. And then we go down another grade. We go down to the 800. And I always do this sanding when the car, you know, with the wheel on the car. I don't raise it up, don't spin it, don't anything. I just, because it's nice, because now it ain't going anywhere. It's nice and solid. So, best way to do it, I think, is with the wheel on the car, and then just roll the car, because you've got a nice firm car that ain't going to go anywhere, so you're not going to get any movement in the wheel. and it wobbling and stuff like that. And then if I really feel like I need to get into that groove a little bit better, I take the pad off and I just, in the bottom corners, just to make sure that there isn't any misses, like that. Then I put it back on there, then we go down with the 800, and then again just go up into them creases with your finger to make sure that that area has been abraded so that you get a better key when your paint comes on. You don't want any smooth patches, so every inch, when the wheel's this bad and this corroded, you have to make sure every morsel of that wheel has had some sanding before you put that paint on. Otherwise it just isn't going to stick, and you're going to end up in a couple of weeks time watching your paint peel off. And I can see there's loads of sections up here that I've got peeling paint. So I've got all sorts of problems on this wheel. I've got lacquer that's flaking, I've got corrosion, I've got chips, I've got wheel scuffs. It's just everything. It's just a massive work. So the preparation on this is the hardest part. Spraying it takes 5 minutes. Right, so you get the idea. That's what you've got to do.